How are you doing today?
I like what you did with the father-son. And holy shit, wow, look at the wordplay on that one. That was amazing.
Thank
The
you
only thing
very
that he
much.
left, the only thing that Joe left down is he's also from parts unknown. That would have been a nice introduction. That wrestling, yes.
Weight is known though. I do know my weight.
Now, Pat, it's been a little while since we've talked to you. What do you think of this whole Vince McMahon leaving WWE, and what do you keep up with currently for wrestling?
Wait, what happened with Vince? It's awesome. I'm happy he's gone. I think Triple H has made it a point at watching television. I think it's almost becoming Vince Russo. He's got to pull back on a little of the surprises every week. But I do like that everyone's getting a story, and when you watch throughout it, it's a reason to not turn it off. I've always been a WWE believer. I'm not really an AEW guy. I watch everything, but I always like sitting in my fighting and not just flips. So, but I do enjoy a lot of stuff that AEW does now as well. Oh, they're trying to do both, but I'll always be WWE true and blue, even if Vince is paying women to blow other people.
Yeah, it's definitely made a turnaround since Triple H has taken over, and I've noticed that it's been more enjoyable to watch and not such a headache. Like today I read that Seth Rollins is once again being billed as Seth Rollins and not Seth freaking Rollins. And it's amazing because usually that's something you'd think you'd have to tell like a 14-year-old we can't do that anymore. And in this case, it's like a 79-year-old.
Yes. Austin Theory is Austin Theory. Matt Riddle is Matt Riddle. Unfortunately, Butch is still going to be Butch, I think. But we'll take our steps. You know what I mean? It's like, if he the Butcher, wait, I'll take that if you turn his name in. But let him be those characters. Let these guys be they know what they're doing as wrestlers. Let them be the wrestler. Just write the story makes sense. And that's what Triple H seems to be trying to do.
I think Pete Dunne is actually sitting by the phone somewhere every day, waiting to get that phone call that is going back to Pete Dunne.
I think if you're English, you keep the dumb name Vince gave you. You know, anyone in the UK gets the dumb name. They don't get to change it. But all the Americans get their names back.
Yeah, 100%. Now, this week we are doing a 5-3-1 on Jon Moxley Dream Matches. And Pat, do you want to give us your list to kick things off?
Yeah, my list was I was thinking I tried not to go Dean Ambrose. I'm trying to go Jon Moxley, which is two different people, and I almost put Dean Ambrose on my list because I thought it'd be fun to watch in a dream match the version of Jon Moxley fight the version of Dean Ambrose because they are similar but so different. You know what I mean? So I would have liked that. But I went Sabu as my first one because I just think that the most I've ever see anywhere. And then going with that thought, Free Funk and Mick. That's I don't want to see a wrestling style match. Most honestly, I want to see outside the ring fight that stuff. But also, I think he could. That's why my other two were Bret Hart. I think any Bret Hart is a great match, and I just every dream match should have Bret Hart in it. And it's Stone Cold because of the attitude with the others.
Yeah, definitely. Now, that's a great list. I'd argue that Jon Moxley is fighting Dean Ambrose in his head daily, and maybe that's what he had to go away for a little while ago. Now, AJ, do you want to kick us off with one of your lists?
Absolutely. I've got Brandon Stevenson from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Terry Funk. And in case you guys are wondering, I am keeping a tally of names that come up a lot so that when we get to the end of the 5-3-1, we do have that number for you. Terry Funk, I have a feeling, is going to show up on a lot of these lists. Rowdy Piper, talk about that brawling style.
Ooh.
That's Randy Savage, who was good at mixing it up, both technical and brawling. We have Mick Foley, who I think is going to show up a lot as Mick and as Cactus Jack. And then we've got one that's going to eventually make my list, Bruiser Brody.
Nice.
Ooh, that is a good list.
When you talk dream match, do you guys also think about the build up to it in the promos? Because Roddy Piper, Jon Moxley would be insane.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how you follow what you need. You need closed caption and translator for half of it, but it'd be great.
Yeah, 100%. You just need Renee Paquette there to actually tell us what he's saying, and we'll be fine.
Now, speaking to that vein, I'm trying to think of another promo buildup that could compare to that, because I think that is maybe the ultimate promo match combination that you could get.
I mean, Cactus Jack would have been a hell of a promo also. Cactus Jack or Mankind, the way he got intense, those two would have had great on the mic skills also setting up the match.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at a list from Albert Bettis from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, Vader, Ultimate Warrior, and maybe the only other person that I think could hang in a promo build-up, New Jack.
I think it's great that he mentioned the Ultimate Warrior, since that would have been a horrible match and horrible promos. That is a great one to add to the list, because that would have been total shit fest.
Yeah, that would make the Brock Lesnar Ambrose match look good. Like, you know what I mean? That's how bad that would be. But the New Jack, I thought of him too, but I was just kind of like, I think they would get along. There'd be chemistry in real life. I don't think it would go well in the ring.
Yeah.
Now, AJ, you want to give us your next list?
So I have Raymond Asher, also from the Mothership Facebook group. He's got Billy Robinson. He went a different direction here, one of the great technical wrestlers of all time. But then he comes back with Haku, who's one of the baddest people to ever walk the planet. And speaking of baddest people who ever walked the planet, Danny Hodge, who was also a technical wrestler. Mad Dog Vachon, who was a complete lunatic. And then Lou Thez. So he's got three great technical wrestlers, and then just some of the baddest people ever to walk the planet.
I mean, the Haku one would be. I like the idea of it, but it would be a shit match.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, my opinion of Haku, and this is just my opinion, it's not always a popular one, is as bad as he was in the bars, and I hear about these great fights in the bars, his matches have never held me the same way it would have to have seen him rip a guy's nose off in a bar. I would have probably been far more entertained than any match I've ever seen of Haku's.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of like AJ, you know, with comedy, someone says, "Oh, they're real funny off stage." Like, oh, okay, like that's great that you have to keep telling me that they could be good somewhere else. I'll have Haku fight someone in a bar, and I'll watch that. Him and Tank Havoc in bar fights. I don't want to watch it in a ring.
Well, you know how it is. We get off the stage half the time, and people are like, "Oh yeah, my Uncle Saul should do comedy. He's freaking hilarious." I was like, "Well, has your Uncle Saul ever been on stage?" It's a totally different atmosphere.
I didn't know. I need an opener. Can Uncle Saul do 25? I'd watch Uncle Saul versus Haku before I watched Jon Moxley versus Haku.
Now, the theme of some of these lists, and you saw it from Raymond Asher, is they put Moxley in these matches because, like, they'd want him to legitimately get hurt. I think that was the reason for Haku, Danny Hodge, and Lou Thez. I included one of these lists to get kind of a taste of it because other people were less nice about it. I didn't write those down, but Judas Effect 12865 on Reddit had Brian Pillman, Christian, Mr. Kennedy, Abyss, and Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Now, I think a lot of people would like to see this version of Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, versus this version of Roman Reigns, who was nowhere near this character when Moxley was in WWE.
I like the thought. I mean, it's intriguing to see where they would go. And talk about promos. The promos would be different than when he was in the WWE. But to be honest with you, on that list, I'm far more interested in how his match with Abyss would go. I think that they would just tear the place apart.
Yeah, I almost want to see him fight Christopher Parks, but I want to see him fight Abyss because of the, you know what I mean? Like, because better is that, to be honest with you. Abyss is just poor man's Mankind. But like, yeah, the style would be great. But yet, Roman Reigns right now is not going to have a bad match as long as he's allowed to dictate how it goes with anybody. So, of course, the two of them would be great. The other match you named is just how much can Moxley blade and bleed with those other people. I would like him to see, I would be nice to see him not bleed fight.
I think the big thing that you're going to see in a lot of these lists also, when you see the legitimate wrestlers and stuff of that nature, is I think people have a tendency to doubt how tough Jon Moxley actually is and how much of it is actually the stage. So you're going to see a lot of the legitimate names in there just because people want to see him get his ass legitimately kicked.
That's insane, though. They did not remember the Omega shit when AEW first started. Like, the shit he put himself through. Moxley is a fucking bad. I would fuck with you.
Absolutely.
Listen, he fought for that long with all his demons. We make jokes, whatever, and still put on killer man. Nobody even understood he was going through shit, and he was taking it out in the ring. I would not want to fight Jon Moxley in real life.
Not
he's
only
the guy
that, but
he's big and strong and tough. He's tough.
Not only that, but he's also done the blood sport matches where he's gone in and actually done the blood sport, which is a lot stiffer and a lot harder than doing just the regular professional wrestling that we watch. And he's done just fine. So I got no problem whatsoever with Jon Moxley's toughness. Anybody who's questioning that, get in the ring for 2 minutes and see how tough you are.
He fights Game Changer for fun.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the money. That's tough. If your spare job is I want to get massacred just for a hobby, you're tough. It's like,
yeah, 100%.
100%. Now, speaking of stiff, I'm ready for your next list, AJ. What do you got?
Sorry.
So, well, if anything's going to get you stiff, it's definitely going to be this list. It's Ill Professional 379 from Reddit, and he's got Samoa Joe, Eddie Kingston, Part 2, Wardlow, Adam Page, and Will Osprey. I like the Samoa Joe one from that. I'm always game for seeing Eddie Kingston. I don't think he would match up well with Wardlow. I think that it would be a clumsy match. I don't think Wardlow's ready for that, quite frankly. Adam Page is always a good match, and Will Osprey, to me, is a lot of flash. So I don't know how well they would match up also.
How's Kingston a dream match?
Yeah, it's already happened. So I have this problem every time we do dream matches. Pat, I go off on this every single time. It's not a dream match if it's already freaking happened. But people don't understand dream match. Yeah.
Like, all those matches have basically happened, except for
Wardlow. Drives me nuts every time. That's I go off on it. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's one of the problems when you put things out to wrestling fans on the internet. We're not the most educated people at times, and sometimes when you cast a wide net on Facebook, you're gonna pull in a lot of bullshit. Like AJ does it every week, and thank God I don't think these people listen.
We need no. I watch it almost every week with you guys, and it's fun to get the shout outs I want to send a list in. But it is funny to watch AJ's frustration when he's reading a list. That's my favorite part of the show. So.
Now, my brother
like, what
brings
part
a
of
list.
this do you not understand? I'm like, yeah.
I know you put out dream matches and people put out their favorite matches, and it's like
they'll put out a match that we literally saw last week. Like, dream match. I want to see this.
Him versus CM Punk would be cool. We should try that.
Now, my brother's got a list. He's got Claudio, Hook, MJF, Ishii, and Will Ospreay. And I can't guarantee that all those matches didn't happen, but I can't talk shit about my brother because I'll be seeing him in probably an hour.
Pat, we should also tell you his brother's also a police officer, so he's really much better off not actually talking trash on his brother.
No, listen, the only match that kind of intrigued me, I don't want to see now, but in 2 years, him and Hook, hell yeah, I want to watch that. Give Hook more time, but the attitude, Moxley being mad and then Hook not, that promo might be better than the match, but Hook not giving a shit about Moxley giving a shit about himself would be like, that's really awesome stand. If they continue to build this Hook character, I would watch that. And then that also made me think I should have put on my list, but Taz should have been on there because Taz versus Moxley would have been awesome. Like, so like that one's great.
How great would it be if Moxley's cutting the promo that he normally cuts and Hook's just standing in the corner, not even looking at him, looking out at the fans the way he normally does and just not paying any shit?
And then he just walks out halfway through.
Yeah.
He literally just pops out, the Action Bronson comes on.
Don't even have them touch each other. Just build it that way and just have them literally just walk out on them. That would be amazing.
Yep.
That's I wouldn't mind seeing Moxley drop Danhausen on his neck, but who do you got next for a list, AJ?
I've got Alex Lorenzo. and he's got Stone Cold, he's got current Roman, current Seth, Cactus Jack, Sabu, and then he pulled the Jake rule. Now, this is another thing I go off on. I don't believe in the Jake rule. It's a top. It's
I like
five.
The Jake rule.
Five.
I know. I like it though. I like the Jake rule. I do appreciate that. It's hard to do 5. Because we think of 5, a 6-1 does pop in. I like the Jake.
Everybody loves the Jake rule except for me. I get it. I do.
And Jake is your friend. That's the,
I know,
the
he's
irony
my
of the
friend,
whole
too.
thing.
And the best part is people actually quote it now. They literally call it. He wrote in the Jake rule. RVD, he said, would be sick also. So he'd love to see that RVD match. RVD is not one of those people who really blends with everybody. So to me, I'm not always a fan of seeing RVD mix it up with people just because it doesn't really always go well.
It's just Moxley and somersaults don't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it is a weird clash. It's like to watch them actually fight. It would be cool looking, but for him to like he'd have to give more to them than they would be giving to him. And I think it'd be a weird fucking match. No, Osprey versus RVD, I'd watch all fucking day. But like that other one there, I wouldn't. I don't know. That'd be a weird matchup with them.
No, 100%. And Osprey and RVD, that would be a great dream match.
God, I want to see that now. But the next list I got for you is Charlie Hill. He's got Roddy Piper, Jake Roberts, Sandman, Raven, and Ric Flair.
That list started off so good. Like the first 2 were perfect. I was like, oh shit, like I was that fantastic. I'm mad at Roddy Piper now. Like I'm real, like I'm mad. I'm like, if I had the Jake rule, Roddy Piper would be on there.
I kind of want to see Moxley and Roberts versus Jack Daniels and Jim Beam.
Yeah, that's a hell of a tag team to have to face. That's
clearly going to be a last man standing match.
Yep, your 1-year chip on a pole match. It's just to see if you make it through.
Last man, ladies and gentlemen, your 1-year chip is on the line tonight.
Yes.
Live.
Sponsor on a pole match.
Oh my goodness. That would be fantastic.
I know what they're doing with Jake Roberts. I get it, but it's just, once again, I think that's more promo. It's just 2 guys giving up DDT. Like, who gets the DDT first? I guess I like that. Or maybe you outlaw the DDT in the match and they have to fight without it. Like, I don't know. Like, Roberts was more psychological than he was ring. You know what I mean? Like, that would be such a slow match.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And the problem is that Jake's pace was always very slow and methodical, and whereas Jon Moxley's pace is not slow and methodical. So it would have been very hard for the 2 of them. They would have contrasted a lot.
Yeah, Moxley would have got frustrated with that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I do have another list coming from you. This is from Mr. Laterra. Apparently, Joe will be right back with us. He is having technical difficulties. I think that Vince McMahon may have actually pulled his cord, but we're not allowed to talk about it because we signed agreement not to. Let's see here. We've got Anthony Laterra, and he's got Ric Flair, Randy Savage. He's got DDP, which is the first time I remember DDP's name coming up today. He's got The Rock, and then he brought back Rowdy Piper again. Now, once again, I'm a fan of Rowdy Piper. What do you think of DDP in this conversation, Pat?
Are we getting DDP height of him versus Macho Man and NWO battle? Because that's the only one I could see fighting. The weird WWE one, no. The one where he was the Vegas guy, no. But that one there, I get what he's doing. 2 guys walking through the audience. I mean, they're similar characters, so that's kind of it. I don't really like similar styles fighting each other, but they both have that same kind of I fight more than I wrestle thing, and it would feel like a real fight.
Yeah, 100%. That one solid year that he had when he fought the Macho Man throughout the course of a year, that was fantastic. And I agree with you. I don't need to see Stalker DDP versus him, and I certainly don't need to see the Diamond Dolls as his ringside attendants there. My next list is actually coming from Mike Flynn. He's got Rowdy Piper, Brian Pillman, who's come up a couple times now. I've always been a fan of Brian Pillman. I like him when he was absolutely out of his gourd with his ECW and then coming to the WWE. We've got Steve Austin, who I don't think's come up enough, to be honest with you.
At least 3 times now, because I know I said him and I've heard him twice. So that's more than I almost thought.
It's a good amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like Steve Austin throughout his career, not just his WWE, because a lot of his WWE, he was injured, so you didn't see his true ability. But if he had his ability that he had early in his career during that time as Stone Cold, that would have been awesome. Terry Funk again. And then this is one that I like, Raven. I think Raven is underrated.
No, they also that story, whatever it would be dark and good. Like Raven, Moxley's your good guy, but like your Stone type like good guy in that. But Raven is your bad guy antagonist in that.
Tell me you couldn't see Raven doing the cross thing with Moxley and just pouring Jack Daniels over him after he's come back from rehab.
Yeah.
That would be a hell of a storyline.
I could see Moxley just going, nah, crucify me for real. You can get me down. It's fine. Now, sorry about that, guys. I had a little bit of internet issue. How many lists do I got to catch up with you?
I think I've done 2 since you've actually been gone.
All right. Well, I'll bring you mine next. I've got Atsushi Onita, and I'm thinking more in his prime, not Onita now. I've got Tracy Smothers, obviously in his prime, not now. Terry Funk, Mitsuharu Misawa, and Bret Hart.
Good list. I like the fact that similar to Pat, he brought up Bret Hart. Bret Hart's one of those people who matches up with everybody. Whether you are genuinely a Bret Hart fan or if you're not a Bret Hart fan, you still know Bret Hart's that good of a wrestler that he matches well with any style.
Well, and you're going to bring your A game because you don't want to be the guy who had a bad match with Bret Hart. Like, because that's not a guy. Like, he made the Patriot looked good. Like he can do anything. You know what I mean? Like, he really can make you believe it. And Moxley's already great, but that ego thing would be great to watch. Now, I want Bret Hart, bad guy, me and my Canadian family against Moxley. Like, that's the kind of thing where they can almost be like, the only thing good about you is your Canadian wife. And, like, that hate that could be there, that would be great.
That time period of Bret Hart when he was the Canadian hero against the U.S. is actually my favorite time of Bret Hart. I love him as that heel, just attacking, antagonistic. And like you said, he even made the Patriot look good. You're talking about a guy who didn't even look good wearing red, white, and blue, for Christ's sakes. No. And it was just atrocious. That's
the guy who couldn't make her angles sound cool.
Exactly. It's absolutely insane.
Also, Pat, you share a special distinction with the Patriot of being a former guest on the Working Fans podcast. We had him on here shortly before he died. I'm not going to say we killed him, but I mean, people are asking around.
Some people kill the territory. We kill the wrestlers. It's fine.
I like that you made sure to say before he died. No shit. Like, I get him now.
Dave, it was actually a man called Dave with a crystal ball.
Yeah, it was the one time we played around with a Ouija board on here. It didn't work out well.
My new stage name is Pat Riot, so it's just Patriot. That's my new. There you go.
Oh, that's a good one. Now, AJ, you didn't get fan of the show Randy Osgood yet, did you?
I don't have his list.
Well, good, because I got Randy Osgood's list. He's got Eddie Guerrero, Roddy Piper, Cactus Jack, Terry Funk, Steve Austin, and then let's see which wins out now. AJ's beliefs or his ego, because the Jake rule Randy has versus AJ Strangebrew in a Hell in a Cell.
Okay, first of all, this is going to be easy because my ego will always win out over my beliefs. So that would be a hell of a match, and God damn it, let's get it booked.
Oh man!
Yeah,
now
I want a cow rope match. I want that instead of the cage. I want you guys to go to all 4 corners.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a better one.
I do have a little size on him. I'm about 290, and he weighs in at about 220. So I got a little size on him.
I think his cardio
So we're gonna
is
see
okay.
AJ sweating, being dragged to these corners.
But you know what I liked? I'm shocked no one said it. Eddie Guerrero is fucking a tremendous match. Like that, I want the best Eddie though. I want early before WWE Eddie. I don't want Dominic is my son Eddie. Even though that was good, I want that raw. I'll do any move. I'll sell anything match against Mox. The two of them would put on a fucking show.
Oh, 100%. That's the sad thing about Eddie Guerrero is that there's a whole well that's not even going to be the sad part for me. The sad part is the WWE. Eddie Guerrero is what most people that are WWF fans actually remember as his prime, and they don't realize how good he was before that and how great of a wrestler he actually is. He's in that Bret Hart category of making everybody look good.
Oh yeah. A lot of dead people are. Him, Owen Hart. If you're dead, you were good at selling. So good that you're dead. You know, it's like.
Sorry, I got you popped me on that one. That was
Thank
good.
you.
We got Zach St. John. I've got Mrs. St. John's favorite baby boy, and he's got Stan Hansen, which is always a fun match. And then you've got Bruiser Brody, Ric Flair, but it would have had to been Ric Flair from the late 80s. He was very specific about this. He wants to see the guy who fought Terry Funk, not the guy who fought old age. And then we've got Terry Funk, of course, and then Stan Hansen again. So apparently he really wanted to see Stan Hansen.
Now, how many more lists you got, AJ?
Just mine.
Okay, I got one. I got two more for you. Pat, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I get the Stan Hansen thing, and I'm happy that nobody has said JBL. Because I thought that might come up, but I fucking can't stand JBL. But when people think of Stan Hansen, but they're younger, they think JBL because he stole his whole style. So, like, I always thought there'd be a JBL Moxley thing on here, and I'm kind of happy there isn't.
No, I want to see the guy who knocked Vader's eyeball out in frickin' Japan. I don't want to see his ripoff.
Yeah, I don't want to see his TJ Maxx version. Like, no thanks.
Definitely. Now, I'll bring you my last two lists here. I got one from our friend Scott. He's got Terry Funk, Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, Cactus Jack, and another one for Atsushi Onita. And the last list I got is from Christopher Todd Gross from the Mothership Facebook group. And this is another list that enhances how a lot of people in that group felt about Moxley. Luthez, and then in parentheses, it says, you are Jonathan Good and you are no wrestler. 2 is Gypsy Joe. 3 is Haku in a Shoot. 4 is the original Dutch Mantel. And 5 is Pissed Off Manny Fernandez.
Wait a minute. Ooh. Was there a second Dutch Mantel?
Yeah, the second Dutch Mantel is the current Dutch Mantel. The first one was, I want to say, in like maybe the 50s or so.
Really?
Yeah, you would only be aware of him if you heard Cornette talk about him. I wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't get me on a lot of history often, but you got me on this one.
I just think that's the same Dutch Mantel. He's that old.
That's why his beard is so long. He's been growing it since the 1950s and just coloring it.
But Manny Fernandez, I like. I wouldn't have thought of that. I kind of like that matchup a lot. He doesn't get brought up enough how good he was.
No, not nearly enough. We saw him at Pistol Pete's in Norwich, and I still think he could go with Moxley in the ring. Now, AJ, can you give us your list, and we'll get to the top 3 from there?
Absolutely. I have a guy who almost made my list who hasn't come up yet, and I'm surprised Chainsaw Charlie hasn't showed up anywhere. However, I am going to go with Madman Pongo. I think that Madman Pongo would have been a fun match. I also think that the original Chainsaw, the guy who was Corporal Kirshner, and he ended up wrestling as Leatherface over in Japan, I think that would have been a hell of a match back in the day. I actually like the New Jack idea. I don't think they'd get along in the back, but I think once they came through the curtain, that it could have been all balls to the wall. Pat stole my thunder a little bit earlier because I have Taz. I think Taz would have been absolutely fantastic. And then I also have Sabu. I think all of those guys would have been fantastic with him.
Not a great list, but no, you're right. New Jack and him would work out fine. I just don't. When I think of New Jack, I think of the music playing the whole time, and that would piss Moxley off.
Yeah, that's that. I don't think that would have flown with him. I just think the two of them would have had good chemistry once they started beating the shit out of each other.
No,
and Madman Pongo's a kind of a forgotten guy, but if you haven't checked out Madman Pongo at all, you'll see what his style is like if you just put him in your Google machine.
Nice. Now, what do you got for what made the top 3?
So our top 3, we've got Terry Funk. He came in with 7 of them. Cactus Jack Mick Foley, I put as one thing. Yeah. He came in with 5 of them. And then, believe it or not, Piper and Brody ended up tying with 5 each.
Wow. So obviously between Piper and Brody, we're going to say Piper should be the one to make the top 3 because Brody would be good. But like Pat said, when you got that lead up and you got 2 really good talkers, that could be something else.
I like that Pat was about to question you, and then you said, like, question it.
I was, but then I was like, I loved the Piper thing and sold it. I don't know. Brody and him would just be so good.
Yeah, my thing is I just think that him and Brody would have taken it all over the building. It would have been absolutely incredible.
Oh, so I didn't even think about that.
That's and the thing is, you got to remember, Brody had more restraints on him back then. Imagine the freedom that Brody would have had now if he was wrestling Moxley to go all over the place.
As much as him and Piper would be great for the whole build and story, the actual match might not be that great. You know what I mean? The Brody match with Moxley would be great.
Okay, we have a tendency. We'll put Brody in with Piper and Funk then.
Yeah, we have a tendency with Piper.
Cactus Jack.
I think we romanticize a little bit of Piper's ability because of how good he was on the mic. I think that, and I'm not knocking him. He had good matches, but if you think about his great matches, they were with guys who had great matches with everybody. Yeah. When you think about his stinker matches, he never really lifted people up to that next level by his own wrestling.
Now, if they both can drive in a Bronco throughout Hollywood, then it's a great match. You know what I mean? So
that's true. That's true.
Yes.
So I believe
if it's Brody, Funk, and Mick Foley,
who do we give the winner to between Cactus Jack? Yes.
For me, I'm going Funk. They're being able to actually just 2 maniacs. 2 maniacs just going at it. I'm a Funk guy. As much as I love Cactus, Terry Funk to me is one of the all-time greats, and I don't see that possible for them to have a bad match.
Yeah, I'm not. When I say this, I'm not shitting on Mick Foley.
Yeah, I'm going to say stylistically.
One of the greatest. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Stylistically, I think Funk and Moxley would be. Yep. My internet is shot today, so sorry for the live watchers, but I think Moxley and Funk would be the easiest stylistic matchup. Brody and Moxley would just be a beating. And then between Moxley and Cactus, you'd just be scared for both of them the whole time. So I got to go with Funk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pat, who do you got?
Oh, same here. Like, as much as I love Mick Foley, and I think he's one of the most incredible wrestlers of all time. He doesn't get, even as high as he gets up, he doesn't get enough credit for everything he put his body through. He is just a student of Terry Funk. So if I want to watch that match, why wouldn't I just want to watch Terry Funk do it instead of the guy who learned from Terry Funk? Like, so that match would be just, he'd put on a clinic. He would, those two would do things that you can think of that would make you go, holy shit. Like, Funk would be so creative with what he'd be allowed to do, and Moxley would just roll with that. They would do shit you'd never seen.
And the thing is, we forget how good Terry Funk was for so long. Yeah. He absolutely, some people wrestle into their 50s, and you're like, my God, this person needs to stop. Terry Funk started doing moonsaults when he hit 50. That's absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah, that didn't change. He really is. It'll never be brought up this way because he didn't have the glamour or flash or whatever, but it's like what Jericho's doing, where it's like you just keep reinventing yourself, but also keep in the same frame. It's always Jericho, but it's different versions of it. Terry Funk can adapt to wherever you put him, whatever territory he was in, he could still be Terry Funk, but still match up with what the people wanted.
And the other thing I always love about Terry Funk, and I got to give him credit for, is he could have stayed in major federations his whole career. He took the time to go to ECW and really help build that brand. He gave his time, he gave his body, and he gave his soul to those young wrestlers and really gave them a chance to prove what they could do. And without Terry Funk in the beginning, I'm not sure we get the ECW that we ended up getting.
Yeah, and imagine if those checks cleared, he would have stayed longer.
Well, you got to feed your horse.
Yes. How dare you call Dory a horse? How dare you?
Speaking of Dory, he just came out with a book recently that I am interested to read.
His book is more interesting than any match he's ever had.
Yes. I was going to say, you beat me to the punch. I'm just excited that Dory can write and read.
Definitely. Now, Jon Moxley, Terry Funk wins our 5-3-1 on Jon Moxley. And since Pat hasn't been here for the rest of the PWI Readers Poll, I'm going to hit him off with a couple questions and see what his answers would be. And then we will give him what the readers of PWI said. So, Pat, who is pound for pound the best wrestler in the world right now?
Right now, Seth Rollins. That's how I feel.
Okay,
Seth Rollins is the best wrestler in the world.
PWI said AJ Styles got 11%, Kazuchika Okada got 9%, Bryan Danielson got 8%, and others got 72%. Others being CM Punk, Jon Moxley, and Sasha Banks. So if that gives you any kind of idea, that's what they said. We've had a lot of problems with this poll, not just the way the numbers break down, but some of these answers are just what makes
this even worse, Pat, is you got to remember this poll was actually taken months ago. So Punk wasn't even where he's at now. He was literally just coming back. Absolutely atrocious.
Sasha Banks hasn't wrestled in 6 months. How is she on the list? She's been out of the company before she walked away.
Yeah, even when she was with the company during that time period, she was wrestling very limited. She was doing the tag team, and before that, she was on break even before she even came back as the tag team.
That's the people they name. The top three aren't. There's nothing wrong with any of them. Don't get me wrong; they're all fantastic. But it's just like games are just too easy. We can just always say that, but it's just work rate, whatever. But he's gonna be great. But that's there's a lot of people left off that. But I don't know. I think right now Seth Rollins can do anything with anyone. So
yeah. Now, who would you say is pro wrestling's greatest babyface at the moment?
There really is no fucking babyface. I mean, there's no true ones at all. To be honest, he's hurt, but it was Cody. Cody
Rhodes.
He came to WWE, so that's what I would say, because there really isn't. What else is either building? I mean, I guess Hangman. I mean, everyone loves Hangman. You root for him, but it's still not really a babyface. But it's kind of but it's something you root for.
Yeah, the alcoholic cowboy who goes home and probably beats his wife is the number 2 babyface, it's fantastic.
Yeah, how is it that we like Hangman when he drinks, but we prefer when Jon Moxley doesn't? I feel like one you would prefer behind the seat of a car, and the other you have to actively take his keys away.
Well, one was storyline, and one's oh shit, he wasn't just acting. So that's the difference. You know what I mean? Moxley, we all kind of guessed there was something wrong behind the scenes. But Hangman, we don't really believe that he's just walking around with cups of booze, just all the time with the Young Bucks, and just drinking nonstop.
First of all, what kind of a show is Tony Khan running if this guy's able to just walk around with whiskey before his matches and chug it before every night before the show?
Well, let's not even talk about Tony Khan and how women are being bullied in the back and hiding in bathrooms. Your heavyweight champion's scared for life from a dentist.
Now,
The fuck is happening?
The readers of PWI voted 25% for Cody Rhodes, 15% for CM Punk, 7% for John Cena, 7% for Adam Page, and others got 46%. Others being Bianca Belair, Drew McIntyre, and of course Mayu Iwatani.
It's great that John Cena's still getting one of the top spots for babyface when he doesn't actually wrestle anymore. That's fantastic.
He's not even a face on Peacemaker. That's the latest thing he's done. It's like, how is he on the? Like, I could name the greatest of all time, Hogan, but it's not. He's not on the list. It's like,
who's the best babyface? Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah. Pedro Morales. That's what I'm going with. It's like,
he's over at MSG.
I guess should have been on that list. Drew McIntyre is doing a good job at that, and they're building it. But it's still, you can't really like someone Scottish.
It's number one. It's actually one of the top rules.
Yes, it's the Scottish Jake rule.
You can like someone who's not really Scottish, like Rowdy Piper, but you can't like a true Scotsman.
You can't have stolen Scottish valor. You know what I mean? That's the problem.
Now, we got one last question for you, because this was an interesting one we did last week, because we went over how much we watch wrestling, but on a weekly basis, how much pro wrestling do you typically watch?
It's hard to watch it live because I'm doing comedy, open mics and shit, so I watch so much What Culture that kind of counts. You know what I mean? Everything is Simon Miller telling me what's up and down when I have to catch up on shit. But yeah. I also watch everything on the WWE network constantly. So I'm watching some kind of wrestling at least 20 hours a week. Literally, I'm currently binge watching. I started from Raw in '93, and I'm watching every Raw, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view, and I'm at 2005 right now. So that's what I binge watch. So it's
that is fantastic.
I watch a lot of it, but
it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the progression of Raw from those years.
Yes. Well, and also right now I'm in something sad because when I'm watching in 3 months, Guerrero dies. Yeah. A year later, Kurt Angle leaves. A year after that, Benoit leaves, and that's my 3 favorite fucking people at that time.
Yeah, the worst part was when I was watching that time period and my wife came in, she's like, he's going to die, right? I was like, no spoilers!
well, how does his kid turn out?
Now, the readers of PWI said 4 to 6 hours was 28%, 7 to 10 hours was 24%, 1 to 3 hours, 16%, more than 15 hours, 18%, and other was 14%.
I mean, 4 hours is Raw in one Rampage. So you're barely watching wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, at that point, I'm not even sure you're actually a fan.
Or you watch a pay-per-view.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Now, actually, this is the question I want to end on, because I just love this question. In general, do you think there's too much televised wrestling to keep up with in a given week?
I don't think there's too much to keep up with, but I think there's too much. I think that
it's
what happens is everybody's so overexposed. It's over now. I can see every match a million times. I can learn too much about that. No matter what, even with Triple H doing what he's doing, it's not appointment television because they're all tweeting, they're all putting, it's everywhere, not just TV. It's just too much to see. I could see them had to wait 7 days. I mean, yes, it doesn't hurt to have a second show, but even with Raw and SmackDown blending in together, that's too much. I kind of like it separate. I'm one of the few people, but I like 2 separate programs where they weren't fighting each other, so it was special when they did or somebody came over. Rampage is just garbage right now. So it's just it's become the thunder of it was good at the beginning, but it's all become. It's just too much. Like I love to go watch TNA, but I'm just burnt out, so I don't even go watch that. Like Ring of Honor is showing up once every 4 weeks whenever Jay Lethal feels like hanging out with his friends on fucking ROH. I'd like or on AW. I'd watch that. There's so much, but they're not giving me enough.
What I liked about Rampage when it first came out, and I agree with you where it's gone now, is that they would literally just have 3 matches, and that was what they focused on in that 1 hour. Now they're trying to fit 15 things into 1 hour, and you're not getting anything.
Yeah, Rampage was great when it was 2 matches. Mark Henry awkwardly trying to talk to people in them match. Like it's like, what do you think about fighting? It's like, oh, thanks, Mark, for that hard-hitting question.
Hard to believe he didn't go further with his promos in wrestling.
John Cena, I'm not retired. I fight you. Okay, we got it. You fooled us.
Now, the readers of this poll said, no, I can't get enough, 58%, which y'all are maniacs. Like, can't get enough? I have to pick and choose because there's more than enough. Yes, I'm overwhelmed, got 37%, and not interested got 5%. I don't know why you're filling out a poll for a wrestling magazine if you're not interested in wrestling TV. Like, that's like how insane the responses are to this.
They get all they need from the magazine. They don't actually watch anything. It's just what they read, and that's it.
We got 38%, and Are You a Nazi poll said no. It's like, why are you filling this out? Like, how did you find this link? It's insane. Why would you even be in there? It's insane. By the way, that 50% makes sense because most fan wrestling aren't us who just love it because we love it and we'll critique it, but we believe what they're doing. They're watching it to hate people, so they have a community of people that let's shit on this thing. So yeah, it's not enough because they need more likes on their tweets. They're not really watching it. They're just like, I want to hate every match. I'm mad that CM Punk lost in 2 minutes, and I'm mad now we got a rematch. But I'm also mad it was in 12 minutes. What do you don't write shit? You're boring. Let them do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a whole faction out there who literally watch wrestling just to shit on it, where they forget that some of us actually watch it because we still genuinely love professional wrestling.
I'm not happy with every TV show decision that happens, but I still watch the show because I didn't write it, and I'd like to see what the thought went. If I don't like it, the great thing about wrestling is it never fucking ends. So, okay, I don't like that one story. Another one's coming.
Although, at some point, I'm going to put this out there in the universe. We're just going to put together our own wrestling promotion, and we'll write it. Yeah.
But then we'll write it and write the scripts real tight and not let them talk their own minds.
Exactly. Nobody's going to get to talk their own minds.
You and I would be evil. Yeah.
The best part is we're going to do a show afterwards, and all we're going to do is shit on our own show.
That's the show. So every time someone comes out, we come out after and shit on what we just did. Why would we do that?
I don't know what these guys were thinking.
That is a great idea.
It's the WWE, the why wrestling entertainment that we are. Why?
Awesome idea. Now, Pat, thank you for joining us today. Is there anything you would like to promote before we let you go here?
What do you guys got going on? I got a bunch of shows. Just follow me on social media, see where all I'm going to be performing and stuff like that. But if you go over to my the POS podcast YouTube channel, I put up all my podcast shows on there and some of the stand-up comedy as well. Thank you guys for promoting the book. If you're somebody looking to try to do stand-up comedy or like going through the fights of like trying to become a comic and get paid and stuff, I have a comedy help book called How Not to Suck at Comedy. You can find it on Amazon.
And let me tell you something, fans.
Because now we're just staring at each other.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, fans. If you have not had a chance to go out there and see Pat Oates do comedy, you really need to check it out. He's genuinely one of the funniest people you will see. The one thing I do recommend is make sure you give him a big hug right after. He loves that. He'll be very happy.
If that
Tell him.
happens, then
Tell him
I'll be on
AJ
this list for
sent
5
you.
people you want to see Pat.
Well, guys, I think
Guys,
that'll do it for this
Thank
week.
you. I'm a huge fan of the show, as you guys know. Real quick, sorry. I'm a huge fan of this show, and I think you guys know that. And I just love what you guys do. Just keep doing it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that compliment, and we hope to have you on again soon.